stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference.
Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the All Around Growth Podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. Today is Monday, September 26th, 2022. This is episode number 429 of a show where we co-create life together. Episode number 429 of a show where you join me with my family on our small farm and homestead as we grow all around. I am glad that you are back with us today. Like I said, today is Monday, September 26th, 2022, and wouldn't you know it, just like that, the weekend is over. It always seems to go by so quickly. But however, we're back here on this Monday morning, and if you're listening to this at some other point in the future, we are back here right now. We're back here together because in a scattered world, this show brings us together. The communities that we all participate in and overlap with one another connect us. And in a world that is seemingly more and more disjointed and disconnected, I am pleased to be with you this Monday morning as we continue to connect with one another. And since it is a Monday morning, we are going to do a farmers market recap episode. Now, this month, we began covering local farmers markets. Why? Well, to provide a little bit of behind the scenes discussion of what is actually taking place here on the farm and homestead, specifically with regard to what we're doing and how we're doing it as we grow the family business. So all of this began way back on September 6th, that Tuesday episode where we covered our history at local farmers markets in episode number 415. And then that following week, Monday, September 12th, in episode number 419, we did our very first farmers market recap. And then last week, September 19th, in episode number 424, we also did a farmers market recap, okay? And just a real quick, reminder on where we were at last week. Mom and I were rolling solo at the market because Dad was a little under the weather, and we were expecting slower sales because that generally seems to be the trend after Labor Day. But fortunately, we were surprised with the sales that day. I think much can be attributed to increased foot traffic last Saturday because it was a nice day, and I think some may also be attributed to some of the new ways in which we were displaying product and just simply trying something new. I don't know. But luckily this week, Dad was back in action, and he was actually feeling much better earlier in the week, and that was good. He's still got a little bit of a cough, but hey, that's to be expected. When you're 76 and trying to fight off a cold, it takes a little bit longer, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not 76. We'll find out when we get that age. But I wanted to take a moment and say thank you to those of you out there who expressed concern and asked about Dad. It's really heartwarming to know that you guys care about my family. That means a lot to me. So while Dad was back at the market, we actually continued with the new setup we experimented with last week. And real quick side note, it might actually be appropriate to modify our setup because we had been using this shelving unit that was actually thrown away by another vendor last year. It was junked, and then we broke it, glued it back together, and it finally broke again. We used it broken because it looks okay. But after trying something new, the whole idea of stack it high, watch it fly, that seemed to be effective, and Dad was receptive to continuing with the new setup. So that's exactly what we did. And while the sales were less than they were last week and kind of on par with what we were expecting after Labor Day, they were still a little bit higher than I was expecting. And I still continue to believe that the new way in which we're displaying product facilitates a good flow of movement between the product, ourselves, the customers, and just makes transacting a little bit easier. So we'll see. I'm going to really dabble with this experiment a little bit further tomorrow at the Tremont Farmers Market, but I'll talk more about that in a little bit. One other contributing factor to the slower sales at the farmers market was probably due to the fact that it's really started to feel like fall, and not just with cooler temperatures, but Saturday was overcast, and there were a couple times where it started to sprinkle. And not to mention there was another big event going on downtown and all throughout the whole downtown Medina area. And I think a lot of people were sidetracked with other events that were going on in the community. But I don't know. Overall, all that said, it was still a good day. Now, however, as the farmers market season winds down in 2022, we are now complementing the lack of sales or the slower sales at farmers markets with sales from the online store at York Meadow Farm. Now, the store officially launched on the first day of autumn last week, Thursday, September 22nd, and almost immediately upon opening, we received sales. Many of you guys out there in the Telegram group already know this because I was sharing some screenshots from what I was seeing, indicating that it was actually working. And, some of the sales were from you guys, the audience members. Other sales were from longtime supporters of York Meadow Farm, friends and family. But we also had sales coming in from new customers, people that neither Mom, Dad, nor myself knew. So it was a nice mix of orders that came in upon the grand opening of the store last week. So those orders have been assembled. They will be going out for shipping today. And that was a rewarding feeling. Packing those orders, shipping those, or packing them and getting them ready to ship. The very first order that was placed was by one of the audience member and fellow Eagle, 48 Days Eagles community member, Kathy. She placed the very first order, and that really made me understand or it really made me understand the value of community, because a lot of the support, what am I trying to say here? It makes me understand the value of community, because while I've shared a lot here with the audience here in the podcast, there's a different type of sharing that goes on over there in that community. Kathy's been able to see it both, and it was just wonderful. I'm filled with gratitude about everything that's been going on. And she pointed out, this is where I was going with this. She pointed out that, because I sent her that little picture too of the packed orders, and she said, You're living your dream. And last night I realized she's right. So guys, that's about it for the market update. We got the actual farmers market, we got the online market. Living the dream. To say I'm excited is an understatement, but I'm even more excited about the next market update. Because in that next market update, I will be discussing our experience, with the farmers market where we're at now, the Medina Farmers Market, the experiences with online sales through the farm store, and then our experience at the newest market we will be attending, which is actually tomorrow afternoon, like I said, up in Cleveland at the Tremont Farmers Market. Very excited about that. That's going to be a whole new experience, and I look forward to giving you guys an update about that in the next farmers market recap episode. However, if you want to get a sneak peek on the updates, then just join us in the Telegram chat, t.me/allaroundgrowth. I will undoubtedly be talking about that there. And speaking of the Telegram group, while we're talking a lot about farmers markets, and many of you guys out there in and outside of the Telegram group are supporting local farmers markets, which is awesome. A lot of you guys are actually growing vegetables in your backyard, which is even more awesome than going to the farmers market and buying stuff from farmers who are growing it, because, well, you are. Like, take Sean Yunt and Andrew Hughes, for example. These guys don't have farms or homesteads in the typical way that maybe you or I would think about homesteads, right? But they are creating homesteads in the context that is appropriate for their life and their family in this moment. And now, during the introduction of today's show, I mentioned that I was pleased to be back with you here on this Monday morning because I truly am. I'm honored to be sharing in this interconnected network of communities that gives me the opportunity to see cucumbers that Andy grows and how he's processing them and canning them, along with the tomatoes and green beans that Sean is growing in his backyard, and the efforts that he's taking to ripen those babies that are still on the vine before the cold weather moves in and decimates his crop. So yeah, I mean, we talk farmers markets and such, but we also talk about what we're doing in our own lives, because again, that's what this show is all about. Or at least that's the direction that I'm tried to take this show, which has changed since its inception. And I think it's more important to try to create networks and connect with people who are also trying to become better versions of ourselves. Trying to network with people who are not only doing that, but just simply trying to improve our lives and create abundance for our families, for our communities. Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Farmers Market Recap took a little bit of a twist, but I think it's important to understand and recognize everybody out there that's growing. In this case, in the literal sense, vegetables, green beans, tomatoes, cucumbers, and such. And growing in the other ways that we look at and think about all around growth. Many of those ways have been discussed in past episodes. I won't go into all of that right now, but a lot of the framework for the show in the past has come from the 2022 goal setting workbook. A lot of the direction the show is, the current trajectory of the show, if you will, is taking place due to some guidance and counsel that I've received from other people within the 48 Days Eagles community. And if you've been a listener to the show for a while, or if you're a new listener, and you like what you hear, and that community is of interest to you, I would first and foremost encourage you to check out the 2022 Goal Setting Workbook, which is available for free. You can simply download it with your email address. I'll link to that in the show notes. And that will give you some insight into what the 48 Days Eagles community is all about. And you can take it from there, explore it further if you wish, but begin with that. That is where it all begins, because that has provided a lot of the framework for the show to date. And as the show continues to grow and evolve, much like myself and much like you, you will see the results of networking with different communities as it shakes out in the show. So stay tuned for future episodes to see what the result of that is for yourself. Now, tomorrow, we are going to cover a question that we're often asked at the farmer's market, which is, how long does it take for your sauerkraut to ferment? So if you're interested in a little bit of a deep dive into fermentation, tomorrow is the show for you. Well, I appreciate you tuning in to the show today, and I hope that you have a wonderful day and an even better week ahead. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.
The needs are many and answers a few. People turn away, and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love, and truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. Whoa, whoa. I'm an odd fellow. If we stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference and answer the call. You know the times are wasting every day, and we can help somebody along the way. People may think that it's odd that I believe